Um, Somewhere during that time in my government experience, I ended up on a board of directors for our local chamber of commerce. I'm also a small business owner, so I spent a lot of time figuring out how to squeeze 36 hours worth of work into a 24-hour day, and just generally being crazy. And I mention all this because I want you to, I think it gives me a unique perspective to both sides. I know how confusing government can be, and I know how exhausting it is to run a small business. So when I say I have experience under my belt is barely hanging on for dear life, but it's there. So, like I said, I just think that gives me a unique perspective to be able to help small business owners like you, because I am in your shoes as well as being a government employee. I know Elisa said something about it being a nonprofit, so it's very convoluted. We did just receive our 501(c)(3) like October or November. So a portion of what we do is government related and a portion of it is nonprofit, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. Like Elisa said, our mission is kind of twofold. We oversee policy and funding for the Ohio Means Job Centers because we want to work collaboratively to help people get the jobs that they need, not just entry-level jobs, but jobs that they can grow with, that will grow with them as they get married and have kids and want to buy a house. And, we want them to be able to continue to grow in that industry, whatever they're working in, and to continue to do better and better. So there's really two sides, the job seeker side and the business side. This is just kind of a little bit of what we do for each. On the job seeker side of things, we have what we call a resource room, which essentially is like a library for job seekers. So people can come in, they can use our computers, they can use our copiers, our fax machines, anything that they need. And we even have someone that staffs that room that will help them, because a lot of times we do see people that are not computer savvy and need some of that training. So we'll help them to write their resume, help them figure out how to use all the machines and how to do job searches. We also offer a lot of upskilling workshops in our resource room, and interview preparation, supportive services. And that's kind of where that nonprofit piece comes in. We were a government agency for many, many years, and we're able to pay to put people through training, but we weren't really able to help with the supportive services as much as they need, because we might be able to get somebody the training they need to get a great job. We might even be able to help them get a job, but if they don't have a car to get there, or if they don't have clothes to wear, or if they can't afford to buy steel-toed boots, what good have we really done them if they can't even do that? So we do offer some supportive services to try to help people get on their feet, things like clothes for their interviews, tools of the trade. I know cosmetology, for instance, the scissors that they are required to have for cosmetology school are like $600. So that's a big one that we hear about. And then, of course, work boots is another one, because any kind of manufacturing job, any kind of construction job, those all require work boots. So just things like that. And that's where that nonprofit piece comes in. We wanted to be able to help people that were kind of ready to fall off that benefit cliff. That's what we refer to it in the industry. We can give them benefits and give them benefits, and then when we stop, you're on your own, but good luck continuing what we just did. So we're just really trying to set people up for success. Then on the business side of things, we realize that not every business has the benefit of having an HR team or having a marketing team. Sometimes it's 2 and 3 people that run a business, and it's just a little mom and pop shop. But that doesn't make them any less important. Something like 98.9% of businesses in the US are actually small businesses. So they're very vital to our economy, and probably how a lot of you got your start if you're not still considered a small business. So knowing that you're already overworked, you already are understaffed, and maybe don't have all the resources that you really need, we actually will help with those things. We help draft job descriptions. We have a marketing firm that works for us. So if you call me and you say, Tracy, I need to hire somebody for this, and the qualifications are X, Y, and Z, I'll say, okay, great. I'll send that on to our marketing team, and a day or two later, I'll say, how does this look? And now you have a professionally designed flyer. We push it out on our social media, we push it out on our email. And our email marketing is something that's really helpful to businesses because we have over 70,000 people on our email contact list. Because anyone who has ever applied for unemployment, anyone who has ever used our building, anyone who has ever sat through one of our programs, those are all people that are on that email marketing list unless they've asked to be taken off. So we have a really huge kind of fan base, if you will, that we are sending those things out to. So that's usually pretty helpful to a small business. We also help with like applicant leads. When Amazon was building in Warren County, they didn't have a building or anything like that yet. So we helped them weed through all of the applications that they were getting, helped them pick out, they told us this is what we're looking for. So we put our whole staff on it, helped them kind of pull out the applications that fit what they were looking for, and even provided a space for them to do their interviews because they didn't have a building yet. So we do a lot of things like that as well. We also do hiring events. If Shelly advertises that she's doing open interviews on Wednesday from 3 to 5, well, Shelly's stuck there from 3 to 5 and might see one or two people come in. But we do hiring events at just different places around the region and invite all of our employers in. If you sign up for our mailing list, you'll get a notification every time there's a hiring event with a link to be able to sign up. And when we do a hiring event, we might have 20 or 30 employers. Well, instead of 2 applicants, now we're getting 150 applicants. So it's a much better use of your time than trying to, do something like that on your own. We also help with market research. One, for instance, that I have is Butler County Board of DD. They reached out to me a few months ago and they said, we are really struggling to hire. It feels like nobody has the right degree anymore. So can you help us look and determine how many people graduating in this degree field already have jobs before they graduate? Is that the problem? Can you look that up for us? Can you help us with that? What kind of money are they making? What's industry standard for that position? What are the demographics of those people? Maybe we're just looking in the wrong place. So we're able to really help with doing some market research to make sure that you're using your time and energy wisely. We also really pride ourselves on the fact that we have great relationships with a lot of other organizations. That's kind of part of that 14 chamber thing. That's what I'm out doing, trying to build relationships and just make friends everywhere. That way we can pull our resources together. So we're really proud of that fact. And because of that, we're able to provide information on grants, incentives, programs that other organizations might have. Things like Tech Cred or WOTC, if you're familiar with either of those are things, that we are able to help our employers that we work with, help them figure those things out. We also offer on-the-job training programs, incumbent worker training programs, and rapid response and layoff aversion. And I'll talk about on-the-job training, those last three, I'll talk about those for just a second. On-the-job training is such an amazing deal that is unfortunately somehow I will kept secret still, even though I'm in 14 chambers trying to tell anybody who will listen to me. One of the neat things about the on-the-job training program is, you see job postings and they're looking for somebody with this certification and 3 years of experience, almost always. So if you're a young person or even an older person who's just gotten that certificate or that education and training that they need, how do they get their foot in the door when everybody wants 3 years of experience? So that's the kind of situation where we would go to the employer and say, hey, we've got this program we'd like you to consider. If you will hire, Shelly, I'm going to keep picking on you. If you will hire Shelly, even though she has no experience, she's got this certification. We just helped her get that. But if you will hire her, even though she has no experience, 6 months from now, we're going to check in with you. Well, we're going to check in with you more frequently than that. But at 6 months, we're going to say, okay, Shelly's still working for you. So we're going to reimburse you for a portion of what you've paid her in wages. And then 6 months later, if Shelly's still working for you, we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it again. We do that until we reach 2 years, or I believe it's $8,000, but don't quote me on that. So there's some incentive for the employer to take a chance on somebody who doesn't really have any experience. They have the training, but not the experience. There's a monetary incentive for them to do that. But also, if for some reason Shelly and this company part ways, guess what Shelly has now that she didn't have before? That will allow her to get her foot in the door somewhere else. She has that experience. So that's a really cool program because you get to mold and shape a young person into the employee that you want them to be. You mentor them. Yes, this is how you dress for work. This is what you do here. This is, when you call off, you actually need to call, those kinds of things. But we pay for a huge portion of it. Incumbent worker training is another similar program, but that's where we will actually pay for some of the employees you already have on staff to get training. And of course, there are variables to all of these things that have to be taken into consideration. But I'll give you an example. There was a healthcare organization that it was a nursing home that Eric, I know some of you probably know Eric Plummer. Eric and I were working with this organization. They were healthcare and they had plenty of nurses, or I'm sorry, they had plenty of STNAs, but not enough nurses. Well, nurses pass meds, STNAs do not. But there was a course that they could send their STNAs to become certified in passing meds. So we helped them send, I think it was 13 of their STNAs to get the certificate. So now those STNAs are making more money because they're more valuable because they have a skill that other STNAs do not have. And this medical facility, they didn't have enough RNs, but now they've got STNAs that can pass meds. So, it's a benefit to anybody who uses the program, but also think long term. If something happens and those STNAs and that nursing facility part ways, and this STNA is applying for a job somewhere else, and she's in competition with another STNA, which one do you think is going to get the job? The one that has more training and more certificates. So that's a cool program as well. And then rapid response and layoff aversion. So often when a company is struggling financially and they start to kind of go under, they don't want to tell anybody because it's embarrassing. It's scary. It's embarrassing. They wait till the last minute to tell their employees. We see it all the time. But if a company will come to us when they start noticing, hey, we might be in a little bit of trouble here, we can actually help them. Much like we did during COVID when so many businesses, I mean, we saw beer brewing companies that started bottling hand sanitizer. So we can work with these companies to try to help them come up with a new revenue stream and avert that layoff that they're thinking they may have to face. The rapid response portion is when a company does go under. We hate to see it, but it happens. It's the real world. So we will reach out to that company just as soon as we find out, and we'll say, hey, Elisa, is it okay if we come to your company and talk to your employees and help them, first of all, sign up for any benefits they're eligible for because they're about to lose their job, but also educate them on what they're eligible for? Could they go back to school if they want? Maybe they could. And then also help them write an awesome resume. And I don't know if you guys are familiar or not, but there are a lot of large companies that don't even have a person that looks at the resumes first. All of the resumes they receive go through a software program looking for keywords. And if those keywords are not in there, nobody is going to look at that resume. So you can have somebody who's super qualified, overqualified, and their resume never even gets looked at. So it's important to have some expertise on your side when you're writing those resumes. And that's part of what we do with rapid response. And we'll actually do that. We have, on numerous occasions, we have gone in. We want to do it to be able to suit the company, right? We want you guys to welcome us in. So we're going to be as accommodating as possible. And unfortunately for us, sometimes that means that we're going to work at 2 a.m. And we do that. So that's something to keep in mind. If you hear of someone who may be struggling a little bit, or you feel like maybe you're struggling a little bit, those are things that we offer and can help with. Now, one of our most popular programs is WIOA, which stands for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And it is an amazing program because it will actually, in many cases, pay for people to go to school. So the WHO, 24 years or younger, that's what we call WIOA youth. Sometimes there are others. There's WIOA adult also, but there are some variables that they have to, or some eligibility requirements that they have to meet. And then also any dislocated worker, no matter what your age is, if you've lost your job, you're eligible for WIOA. Um, the sometimes others in the 24 or younger, you can see those have qualifiers. It could be any, these are the most popular qualifiers, but there are so many there. And one that I think is really important is primary caretaker receives SSI. Now, I bet every one of us knows someone who is raising their grandkids or someone who's being raised by their grandparents. So if they're in that situation, then there is help available for them. Of course, if you're a veteran or have a disability, all of those things contribute. And the training guidelines on that is that we want you to be able to take a job that is going to um, the training is going to take 2 years or less and is going to cost you $15,000 or less. Now, before anybody starts picking out dorm furniture, we are not sending anybody to get a 4-year degree. We're not going to be helping anybody earn certificates or credentials in philosophy or anything like that. So those are almost always skilled trades, which are listed below, just a few of those. Usually when I do this in person, those all pop up one at a time. And so we play a fun game where I have people shout out the skilled trades that they can think of that fit those training guidelines. But as you can see, there are a ton, and this is just a few that I was able to fit on this on the slide. So it's a great opportunity for anyone who wants to kind of reinvent themselves. Maybe they've lost their job. I know we all saw the Frisch's, kind of all the Frisch's closed recently. And so we really reached out to them to try to because there's a lot of young people that serve and wait tables and those types of things. So this was a great opportunity for them to become eligible for WIOA. And sometimes employers don't want to work with us, and we're not really sure what the reason is behind that. But sometimes when we reach out to them and say, hey, can we come and talk to your employees? They say no. And so in that situation, there's not a whole lot we can do. I think I got ahead of myself earlier when I was talking about on-the-job training and income to worker training. But here's some more specifics of those programs. We also offer apprenticeship programs, internship programs, summer work sites. And summer work sites is a really big one. And I actually added a slide for that to this just for you guys today, since summer is upon us. So students are eligible as soon as they turn 14 years old. We will place them in a work site for the summer, but we actually we partner with local businesses that can use the extra help, but we are the employer of record. So that means we cover the workers' comp, the payroll, and all the other red tape. You simply sign an agreement with us saying that you will be their site supervisor. And then the youth, while they technically work for us, they're going to show up at your location every day, follow your instructions, and you oversee the day-to-day tasks that they're doing. And we will check in weekly on them and with you because we want to make sure that both parties are happy and that it's a beneficial relationship for everyone. And it's a pretty sweet deal considering that we cover all of the cost and ask nothing in return except that you just kind of mentor them a little bit, help them understand what it means to have a job, show them how to dress, how to communicate, and how to show up ready for work. So kind of think of it as a crash course in how to be employable. We do it over the summer in all of our counties. And, this is a great opportunity if you're someone that could use a little help. I will tell you, before I took this job, I actually used these programs. And I was a administrator for a township in Warren County, and we used summer worksite employees and the WIOA program. We used both of those, and it was a huge help for busy work, things that we couldn't do, but we could do, but we just didn't have the time to do. But it was a great opportunity for these kids to learn, okay, this is what an office atmosphere is like. This is how I'm expected to dress. I'm expected to show up on time every day. I'm expected to only take 30 minutes for lunch. All of those things that we take for granted. Maybe these kids that have never ever worked before, just they don't realize that, oh, that's how this has to work. So it's a good program if anybody's interested in that. I often am asked about the partners, what happens if somebody has this issue or that issue. And I mentioned earlier that we really love having all these really great relationships, and that's something we kind of pride ourselves on. And so I wanted to show you this slide that has all of these different organizations on it. And one of the cool things, I don't know if any of you remember years back, the Ohio Means Job Center used to be called One Stop. Does anybody remember that? Does that ring a bell? So every time we get a new governor, of course, the names of things change and legislation names change and all those things. Um, but it's the same model. And the idea was that when a job seeker comes to us or a business comes to us, we want to be able to solve all their problems right there in our building. One-stop shopping. So because of that, the federal government has mandated that anyone who receives federal workforce dollars has to be a partner with the Ohio Means Job Center, which is I know we're BCW Workforce, but we oversee the Ohio Means Job Centers. It's the board that governs the Ohio Means Job Centers. It's very confusing the way they name everything differently. But these are some of the partners that we have in-house. And I think this is a huge asset because if Becky comes to me and she says, I need a job, I need help, and I sit down and I start talking to her and I figure out, okay, Becky has never graduated from high school. That's why she can't get a good quality job. Or Becky has a criminal record. Sorry, Becky. um, but I start to learn these things. And instead of giving Becky a phone number and saying, here, call and good luck. No, I'm going to walk Becky right down the hall and we're going to go together so that I know she's making contact with the right person who can help her with whatever that is. So we have people in our office who work specifically and only with veterans. We have someone in our office who works specifically and only with senior citizens, someone who works with people with disabilities, and so on and so forth. Incarcerated, obviously, that's a big one. We have someone there who works for a behavioral health place, so they can kind of start to identify some behaviors and say, okay, maybe this is why we're having this issue. Aspire might be one that you're not familiar with. Aspire helps get your GED if you dropped out of high school. Or if you're young enough, they will actually help you get your high school diploma as well. But then they also offer classes like English as a second language. We see a lot of immigrants come to us looking for work. And that English as a second language class is one of the classes that we always have a wait list for, which is a good problem to have. Does anybody have any guesses what the number one nationality is that we see in these classes?
Hispanic?
No, and that's what I would have thought too, Lisa.
Wow, me too.
It's Uzbekistan. People,
What?
yes, I know, isn't that crazy? Okay, full disclosure, I didn't know Uzbekistan was anything. I'd never even heard of it before I took this job. But we're seeing a lot of immigrants come from Uzbekistan because it's near Russia and Ukraine. And of course, they've got this conflict. And so we've really seen an increase in people from Uzbekistan the last 4 or 5 years, maybe not quite that long, but the last several years. So it's an interesting thing. Easter seals, I'm sure you guys have at least heard of Easter seals. I know occasionally someone from Easter seals will come to the morning mixer that we all do. Easter seals is who works primarily with our youth. We have a contract with them and they work with our youth. Just to kind of give you an idea of what the workshops are that we have for job seekers. Those are all here on the screen. I can't recall who it was, but I know somebody there works for a financial institute. So of course, financial literacy is huge. We can help somebody get the training they need. We can help them get the job they need. But if they blow their check and they don't have money for gas the second week, have we really helped them? So financial literacy is huge. We're really pushing that and see a lot of people in that class. We also do interview labs and things like that. Record sealing and expungement. That's another big one that we see. And then you can see we do the interview lab and the communication lab, which is like a couple week course. And every evening it's a different topic that we kind of talk about and try to help job seekers, feel confident about that topic, like salary negotiations. When I was young, I had no idea that I could negotiate a salary. They were going to pay me X number of dollars. Yay, I have a job. Well, we want to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck and that you can do the best you can for yourself. So we help with things like that, how to market yourself, how to network, all those things. We also put on workshops for business leaders. We already talked about the first couple there, but we also do an understanding labor market data, showing you how to search for things yourself and how to understand what does that actually mean for you. Yeah, you've got all these statistics and numbers, but what does that mean? Then we also do classes on understanding the impact of immigration on the workforce. And that one, hiring ESOL and second chance employment, I think those are really important classes. I mean, they're all important, but I think it's so interesting because what if Brenda decides, okay, I'm not having any luck hiring like I've been trying to hire. So maybe I should look at people I haven't previously looked at hiring. Maybe I should consider hiring someone who's been in jail. And we actually put on kind of panel discussion roundtable events where we would have a lawyer come in, we would have someone that works specifically in that field come in, and then an employer who hires formerly incarcerated individuals. And we do that so that they can answer all of your questions because I don't know about you, but if I'm thinking about hiring someone who only speaks limited English or someone who has a criminal record or any one of these other barriers, I'm asking myself, what does that mean then? Am I opening up a can of worms? Am I going to have to hire a translator? Am I going to, what if this person who's formerly incarcerated does something they shouldn't do? Am I going to be liable? So it just kind of answers all those questions, anything that might pop into your head for those situations to try to put you at ease and understanding this is the benefit of hiring one of these people that are maybe face a barrier that everybody else doesn't have. And what does that mean for you? So I think that's super important. We are often asked, how are we engaging our youth? How are we getting to the kids that are living in their mom and dad's basements? Well, we worked really hard. We actually have a subcommittee that meets every other month that talks about how do we reach these kids? How do we connect with them? We have career fairs at all of our schools in Warren County, a few of them in Claremont, a few in Butler. Our goal is to get into every school in our region. And sometimes that's easy, sometimes it's not. Sometimes we see turnover at the schools and it's like, okay, here we go, we got to start all over again. So we are working to try to get into every school, but we offer that career counseling, exploration. And I think that's a neat one because for me personally, my father worked at Ford Motor Company when I grew up. So when I think manufacturing, I think dirty, sweaty. He hated every minute of it. And that in my mind is like, oh, I would never want to work in a manufacturing plant. But it's so different now. Everything is so automated and high tech. It's very clean. So a lot of times the career exploration that we do with students or even young adults really broadens their perspective. They had an idea of what that job was, but they didn't realize it could be so much more. I mean, even for instance, if you let's say you're in HR, you're thinking office, but these manufacturers have to have an HR company or an HR division too. So there's so many jobs in manufacturing and in any industry really that kids and young people and even some adults don't really connect the dots to say, oh yeah, they would have to have that position too. So that's kind of a cool thing that we do with the youth. We actually have somebody in some of our more highly populated schools. We actually have somebody from our staff that's in the building 5 days a week. Just connecting. We connect with guidance counselors early on in the year to develop a list of who isn't going to college, who isn't enlisting in the military, and who doesn't have their next steps lined up. And then we actually meet with them, with that person who's in the office or who's in the schools actually meets with them weekly to do some career counseling. Okay, well, what are you good at? What do you enjoy? Okay, thought about this. And then do career exploration. And then towards the end of the year, when they've narrowed it down some, they actually take them on field trips so they can kind of spend the day seeing what those jobs are like that they've kind of narrowed their list down to. So that's a pretty cool thing. We are darn near the end, but I will ask you if you are on social media, please follow and connect with us because that is where we advertise all of these free workshops that we do, all of these free training programs, all these resources that we have. Plus, we also advertise all of the jobs that businesses send us get advertised on our social media. So I know I am a fast talker. Does anybody have questions?
You are a fast talker. Is the
I
first,
am. I'm
is the,
sorry.
that's okay. No, it's great. I learned a lot. I did not know that so much was available, and I have a feeling a lot of these 98.9% of these businesses don't either. The summer work site with the 14-year-olds, is that only during the summer non-school hours?
Um, there are a couple different variations. Probably the most popular one is during the summer. Um, like the 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. There are opportunities to place, it might not be the exact same program, but there are opportunities to place young people in jobs during the school year. If you're looking for something, maybe a couple hours each evening or something along those lines, we could look at internships or apprenticeships in that kind of situation. And also to tell you, this is we are often encouraged to braid our funding sources. So if you have someone eligible, well, here's a good example. When I was at the township and I told you that I used these programs, there was a young lady who was going through the WIOA program. She was 20 years old and had a child, so that made her eligible for the WIOA program. So they were putting her through dental assistant school, but her classes were only on Saturdays. But because she was using the WIOA program, they wanted her to learn some job skills. And so they placed her with me in our office. I didn't pay a dime. So it wasn't a summer worksite program, but it was a worksite program where my costs were completely covered. She was learning job skills while she went to school so that as soon as she graduated, she could get a job in a dental office and have all the skills needed. So that's just one way that we're able to braid those funding streams, the WIOA and then the worksite program. We're both able to benefit her. And I know I didn't work for BCW at the time, but I do know that they also helped her with childcare and gas cards too. So we really do all we can to get young people or anybody really. I keep saying young people because I'm old, but anybody who's in need, we really do everything we can to make it easy for them to work. Any other questions?
Wait a minute, I muted myself. Does it need to be a for-profit business?
It does not. No, actually, there is we obviously when I worked at the township, that was a government, so that was different. But we also help nonprofits, absolutely. And there are some special situations for nonprofits where I believe it's if they take, and don't quote me on this, Eric would be a wiser person to ask this question to. But if a nonprofit will hire a senior citizen, I believe we can cover the wages there.
Wow, I did not know.
Yeah, so it's amazing. And I know, as a senior citizen, you're thinking in terms of a senior citizen, well, they don't want to work because they don't want to mess with their Social Security. We are aware of that. And so we work with a list of employers who will accommodate that and help us work around that as best we can. Sometimes that means um, having a 10 to 2 shift, but
That's
if
so,
you're desperate for help, you'll make it whatever it needs to be,
yeah.
right? And we'll work with you to try to make it as flexible and beneficial as possible for everyone.
So you guys probably don't recognize her, but Andrea is iPhone 128 that you see on your screen.
Yeah,
And I'm going to turn this over to Andrea. Her camera's not working.
that's it. We know how beautiful she is.
Hi, everyone. Now, see, I can now see that I am on camera, but I guess it's not working. So I don't know what's going on with this Zoom today. But yeah, thank you all for being here. Traci, this program was fantastic. It
Good.
Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Because now I can't see you because I don't, sorry. This is just not working for me correctly today. Anyway, the information is really, really interesting. I had no idea about the program for interns and everything you do for immigrants and everything else. So this is really helpful. Um, we are recording this, which is great. We'll be able to share it with people. And if we could also get your slide deck, that would be wonderful. But this is information that I think everybody needs. So we really, really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with us today.
Absolutely. The Ohio Means Job Centers are a treasure trove. There are so many great resources there, and people just don't realize it. So it's important to me to be able to do things like this. So thank you for having me to be able to just, maybe educate a few more people, even if it's three or four at a time.
Well, yeah, after listening to everything, I think we do need to do this a couple times a year because, I mean, I had no idea, and I know you, I know Eric, and yet, there's just so much. So,
Yeah.
yeah, let's plan on doing this and making sure that we do get the word out about everything. So, thank you.
And also, I saw so many social media posts I could make out of this. Do you post regularly on your Facebook page?
Yes, we do. BCW Workforce.
Okay, I'll try and start
Um,
pulling those for our page as well.
yeah. And then we also have LinkedIn and Twitter. And we have some really awesome videos on our YouTube. We do a lot of testimonial videos from employers who've worked with us and from people whose lives we've absolutely changed. And you'll have to get the Kleenex out and go to YouTube and you'll enjoy it.
And that's the most amazing thing. We have so many talented people in the state and in our area, and they don't have the resources a lot of times. And what you said about resumes being, not even being picked up because they don't have the right keywords. There's
Mhm.
so many people who don't know that, and they're looking for a job and they're not getting interviews. So little tips like that are so important in today's world. So yeah, that's definitely something we need to talk about and promote. And it's great to hear that you help with that kind of thing too. You don't have to go to $1,000 um,
Right,
job
right,
career
yeah.
coach.
And that's a really important piece of it is everything that we do is at no cost. So why not? Why not let us see if we can help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Andrea, did we lose you?
Uh, Hello, am I still there?
There
Yep,
she
you're here.
is.
You're here.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I I can't see anybody, so I have no idea if anybody has questions or anything. So, Elisa, I think I will turn it back over to you because I feel like I'm kind of on an island here.
At least I can, at least I can see people. Brenda, did you have any questions for Tracy today? Sorry, I can't speak.
No, I'm just picking up all this information. Actually went to the BCW website and checked it out a little bit too. Um, I think as we're growing in a different direction now, I may be able to use them for, help in the future with
Awesome.
candidates.
That's great.
And Becky, did you have any questions?
I thought it was great. I appreciate that very much. I learned a lot. I'm going to watch it again, but for anything that I missed. And I just connected with you or tried to on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
And I know it's only a few people here on, more people registered, and everybody will get the video and the slide deck. But also everything I learned here today is stuff I can start sharing with our members in a more proactive way now that I have a better idea of what you guys do. So look for that to start sharing. And I do send out a nonprofit newsletter and I reach out for stuff for that so we can include that as well. Shelley, did you have anything to add? Does
I
everybody
don't
know Shelley? She's our events coordinator. I don't know if everybody knows her.
have
Shelley.
Tracy, this was a fantastic presentation and what you're doing for the community just is huge and it really sits well in my heart. I love that you have this and I can think of a few people who need to be pointed in your direction. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Elisa, you said something about nonprofits, and it reminded me because we did just recently form our own nonprofit. We are looking for other nonprofits to partner with. We don't want to recreate the wheel. If somebody's already doing something really well that would help address one of the issues that are affecting the workforce, we'd love to be able to partner with them. We're also always looking for board and committee members. All of our board and committee meetings well, we hold most of them virtually. There's one in person that's done quarterly, so it's not a huge commitment at all. But we're always looking for people that are passionate about workforce to help us do our planning and kind of outline the programs that we're working on.
Andrew's really good about knowing, just having a really good overview of all of our businesses and nonprofits. And I'm sure she's busy making notes and thinking of people to connect you with as we speak. So,
yeah, your services are so needed. They really are. And I think it's getting harder and harder for people to know where to go. You know, here we have more technology than ever, and yet we still can't, you know, you try to search some of this stuff and it doesn't come up. You can't find it. So as Elisa said, this is information we need to share with our members. We need to get out there on a regular basis. And yeah, I think there are some things we can do. We can partner with you guys to reach people in our area much more efficiently and effectively. So let's definitely talk about that.
Yeah, and you know, one thing I wanted to point out is, of course, all of these programs, there's eligibility requirements and things, but it doesn't cost you anything to at least ask and check into it. But then also, I lost my train of thought.
That's something I do, Traci. You're not supposed to do that.
It's gone.
for that, Traci.